Welcome to the Start Something Show. Join world-renowned experts, change agents, and everyday folks who have done the amazing. All here to help you start something incredible. Now it's time to step out, live your perfect day, and create a legacy with your host, Tina Dietz.
Hey there, Superstarters. This is Tina Dietz, and welcome to the Start Something Show. Today on the show, we are going to have Carolyn Ellis joining us from up in Toronto, Canada. And Carolyn is going to be teaching us about the power of doodling. Yay! You know, something that's been really popular lately have been adult coloring books, and this goes way beyond applications than a coloring book does. So I'm excited to share with you Carolyn and her phenomenal work. She is a very accomplished coach. She's been in the coaching industry for a long time and has reinvented herself several times in the coaching industry. So you're going to get to hear how exactly to do that for yourself, as well as the power of graphic facilitation, or doodling, as we're going to be talking about it later today. But first, we have some Q&A that we're going to be having today. And I've gotten several questions on this particular topic, so I'm going to kind of create an amalgam of all of them. But I've gotten several letters from working women who are entrepreneurial in one field or another: massage therapy, financial advising. What was the other one? Oh, real estate agent. All basically saying the same thing, which was that they had children at home who were fairly young, and that they felt concerned, feeling guilty that their business is taking up so much time, and sometimes that they had to miss out on things like track meets or getting them to dance class personally, or missing a family dinner or a bedtime because they were in the midst of doing business of one kind or another. So this is the topic of mommy guilt. Not that there isn't daddy guilt, we have that too, but really we can put it through the same filter. Let's just put it all together and say parental guilt. Now, I've dealt with this as well. I have two young children. My kids are currently 10 and 8, and as a priority, I've always had a priority, and one of the reasons I started being in business for myself was when my son was an infant. I wanted to have flexibility to be with him and to call my own hours. But the pitfall of that is, of course, that becoming an entrepreneur takes an enormous amount of time and energy for the most part, unless you've got some sort of magic wand, and I haven't found it yet. Maybe it's another Harry Potter book we haven't seen. So we are maybe some sacrifices that we have to make. So my recommendation on this particular topic is, rather than trying to create more separation or more what used to be called work-life balance, would be to abandon those kinds of expectations and embrace this life that you are creating. Get creative with it and include your family. From the age of about 2 or 3 years old, I was talking with my kids about my business ventures. Not so much the technical details, of course, but what I was looking to create. I was doing the perfect day exercise with them. I was sharing with them some of the things that I teach my own clients. Teachable moments pop up all the time. And that really has stayed with them so far throughout their lives. Last summer, I came home one day to find my neighbor had a story for me that my daughter had basically staged a mediation. Now, she's 8 years old. She was 7 at the time, between her son and a boy he had had over for a play date. The boys had gotten upset with each other, and my daughter had sat them down and gotten them present to each other's feelings. And in that simple act, they were able to resolve their differences and keep playing. My son, on the other hand, has a big entrepreneurial bug, and now he's in the process of putting together his own show where he's going to be interviewing YouTubers, successful YouTubers, because that's a topic of interest to him. So what we offer our children by being entrepreneurs is a whole other set of skills that they will never learn in school. And that's not something we should be ashamed of or guilty about. It's something we need to bring to them. As for the time conversation, yes, we do need to set boundaries and we do need to manage our time and energy carefully. There are times where we are going to break our word to our children, and just like any other time, we need to make it up to them and not make excuses about it, about how our stuff is more important than their stuff, but to be really real with them and say, you know what, I'm really apologize. This isn't something that I had anticipated happening, and I'm really sorry that I'm not going to be able to take you to dance class today, or I'm not going to be there for bedtime tonight. But pick your battles. Really, really work to not miss the big moments in your children's lives, like a recital, like something that involves a championship, a graduation, those particular moments. That's when you want to pick your battles around your boundaries around your work. And where I would say that it's probably worth it to negotiate your opportunities. I mean, people aren't ogres. They do understand that you have a family. Chances are they're dealing with the same thing. So pick your battles about what's really important. Every bedtime and every mealtime isn't going to be nearly as crucial as you being happy and you being fulfilled and you being thriving with what you're creating and being that role model for your kids. All the research shows that, yes, we need quality time with our children, but it's not the hours and hours and hours that make a difference. It's how we be with our kids when we're having that time. So if you have a question that you want answered about being in business, balancing family and life and work and all of those good things, going through transitions, that's what I'm here for. If you want to live a more thriving life, feel free to email me through the Contact Us page at thestartsomethingshow.com. No question is too big or too small. We love having listener questions. So send us an email for Q&A. Today on the Start Something Show, I am thrilled to welcome Carolyn Ellis to the stage today. She is the founder of BrillianceMastery.com and is a visual facilitator, a speaker, an award-winning coach and author, and a transformational expert. Now, if those of you who don't know what a visual facilitator is, we're going to talk about that because it is an incredibly powerful tool to help you make decisions, to help you create strategy, to help you do things with notes that are way more fun than taking regular notes. We're going to get into all of that today. And Carolyn helps people who are decision makers and leaders stand out and deliver unique and powerful experiences for their clients through captivating infographics, doodles, and full-size visual murals. Yes, you can get paid for doodling. It's true.
Who would have thought?
What's that?
Who would have thought that?
Who would have thought that? Exactly. And you can grab her special report, which is super cool, called 3 Easy Ways Doodling Attracts More Clients in Your Business at brilliancemastery.com/doodle. Carolyn, thanks for starting something with me today.
I am so excited to have this conversation with you, Tita.
I am too. I absolutely adore your work. It's like anytime I could have something that's not boring note-taking, that's actually colorful and catches my eye, it makes me so happy. So much easier to work from that kind of a space, right?
Yeah. Well, you know from personal experience, right?
Yes.
Your own map.
You did a map for me, and it is it's something that I keep on my phone. It's something that I actually have on my wallpaper on my computer. I love it, and it really has helped me make some changes in the last year. So before we get into all of that juiciness, though, I want to just get a little bit of background on you because you have a really cool story. And what originally kind of made you decide to change your life and start something?
Oh, my gosh. Well, I have changed my life and started something a number of times, actually. And what I've found has most often been the catalyst for starting something new is when something that you thought was, really all together and secure kind of blew up in my face. So I would say, one of the earliest examples of, the feeling that really deep urge inside to start something new was when I went through a divorce. And it was about 12 years ago. And up until that time, I had a fairly normal professional career, I would say. I was, at the time I was working in fundraising. I have a background in public policy, so I was a senior government policy advisor for a number of years. I used to work on Wall Street, actually, even way back when. So everything was like, very, going along, tickety-boo, married my high school sweetheart, 3 kids. And then it was like, oh, wow, our marriage is in some serious trouble here. Let's see if we can fix it. And then after a few years of trying to, get through some of those challenges, as often happens with people, you realize that it's not working. And the best thing for all involved was to say, we need to end our marriage. That whole divorce thing really threw everything up in the air. And it actually introduced me to the world of coaching and transformation. My kids are fairly young at that time, and I was a director of fundraising for a major independent school here in Toronto, Ontario, where I live. And I was like, wow, coaching. I mean, I was receiving that as part of my own process of going through the divorce and trying to figure out how to parent my kids and, creating my life after divorce. And in fact, that I got so inspired and turned on by the idea of really using adversity as a doorway to something new and exciting that you would not have seen otherwise. And it's not like it's showing you something new about life out there, but it's really those moments of challenge and adversity are moments where you figure out all the real stuff that you have inside you. I mean, when you go through, whether it's, in my case, divorce or financial challenge or health issues or something happens, when you have to reach inside yourself and pull out like wisdom, decisions, resilience, I didn't even know I had any of that in me. So that's when I decided to start on the entrepreneurial path. So that was my first start something new, and it was completely a foreign idea to me. I just had this burning desire to become a coach, to help coach other people and create more inspired, passionate lives for themselves.
When you started as a coach, so you created something called Thrive Through Divorce, right? Or Thrive After Divorce.
Thrive After Divorce.
Thrive After Divorce.
Yeah.
How do you go from thriveafterdivorce.com to Brilliance Mastery?
Great question. That was another part of the whole reinvention process. My first focus when I started my own business was in the area of separation and divorce. Wrote an award-winning book, a bunch of products. And after a few years of working with clients and really being in that space, I just felt a shift in me. It was like, the clients are wonderful, but I'm feeling like there's all these amazing entrepreneurs out there who have great dreams for their business, who really want to make a difference in the world, but inside, energetically, they're not completely 100% in their own corner. And because my introduction to that sort of interior world really came from that training I did originally as a spiritual divorce coach, knowing how important it is to tackle all of the internal energetic and emotional stuff, like building that foundation within you strong enough, I really got the relevance of that for business. And that's why I was seeing, when I was learning how to market my business, frankly, a lot of fantastic people out there who were doing maybe the right tactics and strategies in terms of marketing or sales, but energetically, they were disconnected from that vision. And it was costing them impact, it was costing them clients, it was like saying two things that just didn't really jive with each other. So that's where Brilliance Mastery came from, which was like, how can I help people really plug into their unique brilliance so that they are so energetically aligned with what's coming out of their mouth inside and out, that your confidence is there, that your clarity, that you can set your priorities, that you don't hesitate to pick up the phone and have that conversation or ask for the business. So that's where the Brilliance Mastery came from. And so there was a phase when I started that where I was working with small business owners, helping them figure out what's unique and special about you. How do you stand out from the crowd? And how do you design and create a successful business that feels authentic to who you are and not just being a pale imitation of somebody else? So get out of the cookie cutter model. A lot of people, I was forcing myself into that, honestly, when I started. But getting out of the cookie cutter model of this is what you have to do to be a successful, business owner, and forging your own path that feels really true to you.
Yeah, you and I both, I think, pretty much feel like the magic bullet types of systems and all of that are just like, really? Come on.
Yeah.
No. How about no?
No.
Yeah.
I honestly, Tina, I want to be a little compassionate because I know there's a lot of people who, like myself, frankly, invest a lot of time and effort and money into thinking that was true. And for me, I think another turning point in the starting of something new happened just a few years ago where several members of my immediate family went through a serious health crisis. And I had to sort of pull back for several months from my business. I was just sort of doing the bare minimum, just keeping the clients that I had happy. And I'm grateful with them for their patience. But I thought, there has to be something else here. And that's when and it was really from that place of questioning like what's really important to me, and am I really putting out my brilliance, and am I mastering in the fullest way that I can in creating this brand? And that's when I discovered the whole world of doodling and visual recording and facilitation. It was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. So again, a moment of adversity, you kind of go deep inside yourself and you figure out, you follow that inner calling and you see what you're really made of. So I've been like, well, you see me, I'm like a little kid in a candy store ever since.
It's so much fun. It's so much fun. I mean, and I remember when you were just piloting some of these programs, and I was in a very stuck place and not kind of be able to see the forest for the trees. And ironically, I was in Costa Rica, living this great lifestyle and all this other stuff. But I was having this moment of, well, now what? I've kind of hit my highest point that I thought I was ever going to have. And now I have this blank canvas and it doesn't look like fun to me. And you helped me fill in that canvas in a way that ultimately ended up with this show and with the whole reinvention of the Start Something movement. So you were one of my guys. I really want to acknowledge you for that.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah.
I love that. That's great.
Lesson for today, Carolyn is awesome.
Aww.
All right. Well, let's move on to something a little less on the happy, shiny thing, but yet totally necessary.
Sure.
Tell us about an epic fail that you had. There's something that just kind of really knocked you on your ass, but, changed the way you did things. I mean, you did mention that, the family and then the divorce and all of that, but let's talk about from the business side of things. Mm-hmm. A business fail.
I would go back to, we touched a little bit about this, but I'll just give you like maybe more of a micro example. When I was at that stage in my business where I was really I'm a very devoted student. I'm a huge advocate for learning. And there was a certain way of marketing a program that I was being taught that sounded like it was great. And it goes something like this. I only have X number of spots available to work with a certain number of people. So fill in this application, we'll have a conversation, and maybe you'll be one of the lucky few who can get to possibly coach with me for a day. And I did that the first time, and it was a wild success. I thought, oh, this is great, blah, blah, blah. And then I tried it again about 6 months later. And when I did it that first time, I was really, sort of following the coaching I was receiving at that time. And it felt a little bit icky because I'm like, well, I don't really only have 6 spots. I mean, actually, I could, comment. I mean, that idea of sort of forcing a scarcity onto something that really wasn't true didn't really feel quite right. But I did it because I think that's what I was, apparently that's what you're supposed to do if you're really serious about your business, right?
Absolutely. I've done it too.
You got to have that
coaches
stance.
have, you create a container and, a funnel and all of that good stuff. But yet, not so much.
I know. Yeah. And then the epic fail was like when I ran it the second and third time, just continuing to get poor responses and not the kind of people where I would really be the best fit for them or they would be the best fit for me. So I would call that part of it an epic fail because I didn't really listen to my own little voice, which is saying, but you don't want to build yourself like you're in a busy ivory tower and you've got no time to connect with people. You're putting all these hoops in front of them. I mean, and I know that that does work as a model for some people, but I kind of discarded my own feeling of like ick about that. And then the other part of my epic fail there was I thought it was I made it mean something about me. That, well, if I'm not getting it, it's not because the system that I'm using for marketing this, program is wrong. It's because there must be something missing about me. So that, sends me off again to another frantic search to take another, self-improvement something. So, I mean, for me, I think that as a sense of failure and a learning point was really important because it helped to sort of unstick me from that belief that even though seriously, my father's a university professor. He had tenure. Like this idea of running your own business was so foreign to me. It could have been like on a different planet when I started. So I was just like clinging on to how I was supposed to do it. But it was part of that important turning point for me to say, you know what? If this is my business, I get to decide what are the values that I'm going to reflect in it. And being able to speak with people, be accessible, being honest and integrity with what I'm saying I have in terms of availability and what's really true, they have to be the same. They can't be different. So that was one of my takeaways from that. Does that help?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it is such a valuable thing because going back to something you said earlier, yes, we have to have compassion for them because we've all been through the coaching trainings or the marketing trainings, and you have to really allow yourself to go through that process to see what works for you and what doesn't work for you. Yeah. Where the trap is in believing that anything is, all caps, the truth. Mm-hmm. It's all you have to separate out the belief portion of things from the metrics of things, right? Good point. Also, you do need to have some trust in the process, but trust and going through the process and doing it as it's designed to be done is one thing, but putting some sort of almost religious faith in something that it's all going to work out, but then not either following the process the way it's supposed to be done or not trusting, like you said, your gut that it's not a good fit for your audience, your market, your business model, whatever the case may be. Right. So we have to always check in with ourselves and make sure that we are in a space of experimentation and then measurement, and then bringing the fun to it as well. Like that whole, I get a little mad scientist about things, so I'll use that for myself. But that whole like, let me see what I can come up with next. Yay!
What's next in the lab?
What is next in the land? I have somebody else who's very kind of much more light, airy, and all of that, and she always imagines herself like dancing down a fairy path and what she's doing and picking the flowers along the way. And everybody has something different. We got. All of us have this kind of inner landscape, and our businesses are come and grow to match that inner landscape, which is why I'm so thrilled that now you are bringing this level of artistry out and showing other people how to do it as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so cool. Let's talk about that for a little bit now.
Sure.
I don't know if that too many people actually know what this, this type of graphic work is. Could you break it down a little bit?
Sure. And this is definitely something where a picture says 1,000 words, and I will do my best to sort of describe it in a auditory way.
I can hear you talking with your hands right now.
How did you know? I'm cupping your face here on this Skype screen just to have you get this picture. So basically, if you imagine, and sometimes and once you've seen this, you'll know exactly what it is. But what I will do is at a training meeting or a live event. Imagine somebody like myself standing over to the side of the room, sometimes it's the back of the room, and with a handful of the most amazing, most colorful markers you can imagine, I am drawing the key points of the discussion and the conversation on a large piece of 4 foot by 8 or 10 foot long banner paper. And so as people are talking, they're seeing these ideas getting put up on the map. What that does for people is it's very engaging. There's brain science behind this. That, we all know that a lot of us learn through the visual means. Our brains, we think originally an image, then we go through a translation process to get the word to communicate. So when you see this, for example, if at a live event, it just adds a whole dimension of experience to the event itself, rather than just the PowerPoint that people are already. You could do great PowerPoints, but a lot of time people are still tuning it out. We have so much information in the world right now, Tina. Our attention span just continues to plummet from one year to the next. This is a way that seems very old school, but when people come up to the map afterwards, they take pictures. It makes it easy for them to remember what they learned, to share with their teams when they get back to their home offices or to their communities, what the key points were. And it continues the dialogue outside the room of the actual meeting or the conference or the workshop, because it is just such an engaging piece. So that is called graphic recording. Graphic facilitation is very similar, except in that case, I would actually be facilitating the conversation, much like I did with you, where I'm kind of like a conversation. I'm asking you questions, and I am visualizing your answers in a way on a piece of paper. And what happens in that kind of case, people start to see connections between things that they might not have seen before. They start to realize, hey, you know what? When I use this word, it means this to me, but you use that same word, it means something else. we need to come together and, understand why we have this difference of opinion. And then it gets captured on the map, and it builds a sense of consensus. So when you're doing something like strategic planning or program review, or, you're putting together a couple of divisions and you need to get everybody literally on the same page, it's a really powerful tool. A lot of Fortune, 100 companies in the United States, they have people in their boardrooms a lot doing this kind of work with their teams. It's something that is pretty new in sort of the educational marketing kind of space. And it's quite amazing. I also do a small scale version, which is in my sketch notebook. And they look a little cartoony, it's a little whimsical. But when those things go out on social media, people are sharing them, speakers are loving them. So this way of capturing information visually is really powerful. I also sometimes do custom work for clients who are trying to explain what it is they do. And the thing that's kind of neat about it, and this is in my special report goes into this in more detail, it's a way to communicate and differentiate yourself from the crowd in a very easy, natural, and engaging way. So when people see a doodle saying, hey, here's the kind of bookkeeper I am and what's important for me when I'm working with my clients, you will instantly be remembered. People will say, oh my gosh, I just saw this thing, this bookkeeper. It's so intriguing. I'm going to call them because I need a bookkeeper, or I know somebody who does. So that the potential for this in terms of helping your marketing efforts, I think, is completely untapped, and we will see it growing, by leaps and bounds in the next few years.
It's totally going sky high. Look at the popularity of infographics, explainer videos, and all these other things. We're hungry for these visuals that aren't heavy. I mean, can you imagine anybody ever sharing meeting minutes on Facebook? No, it would never happen. But essentially, that's one of the things that this is. You going in and graphically recording a meeting, and people are like, yay, look at the meeting minutes. I mean, come on. I mean, it brings a whole different sense of enthusiasm and energy and actually using it. Who wants to read meeting minutes? Right. Oh, that's horrifying.
And the thing, it is something that I've taught a number of learn to doodle workshops, and people who are already like working with clients, whether they do process improvement or they are helping them do financial planning or any kind of service professional. A lot of the people are interested. I've had a woman who did because she wants to share with her grandchildren some of her personal history. She's an immigrant to this country, and as a way to sort of pass on her stories. So teaching people how to take more visual notes. First of all, you do not need to be an artist. It gives you permission to listen at a deeper level and to make meaning of what you're hearing in the moment. Like, you're not going to get every single thing on a doodle note, but guess what? If you take perfect notes and you get everybody verbatim, you're still not getting everything, because there you're not actually synthesizing the information. You're just like recording it. And I mean, this is what I used to do for years. I'd take really wonderful, wonderful notes. But 2 days later, could I remember the key point? No. But I would think, I'll go back and I'll review, and then I'll just really, take action on it. And, it just would never happen, because there was always, we don't have that kind of time. So I've been supporting people with, not so much with time management, but with discerning, being able to say yes to this, no, I don't need that, and just feeling that sense of, you are actually the world's best expert on you. There's a wealth of information out there in the world. Finding information is not the problem, but knowing inside of you what's really truly important to you, that's something I can help you with. And that's something that doodling helps you develop as a decision maker.
That is such good news. Now, Superstarters, I want you to take special note of this. You can find the links to everything Carolyn and I talked about today on her show notes page under show listings on the startsomethingshow.com, along with her link to her doodling report, which is doodled. So you need to go and check this out so you can see exactly what we're talking about. And even better, Carolyn has agreed to come on the backstage pass with me and get a little bit deeper into a little bit of introduction to doodling. So you don't want to miss that either. Right, my dear?
Yes, yes.
All right, cool. So before we wrap up for today, one last question for our superstarters out there. Imagine that you have to start over and you have all of the knowledge that you currently have, but you don't have any of the resources that you've built over the years. What are some of the first steps that you would take today to start something?
Dun, dun, dun. Good question. Actually, if you are starting over, I don't really agree that you don't have any resources. I think, so I don't mean to be controversial there, Miss Tina, but I think the most important thing to do in starting over is you got to really look your past square in the face and say, all right, you happened, this happened. What are the lessons and who am I now as a result of it? So I call that harvesting your wisdom. So when you can look back on something, say, oh, you know what? I actually do understand what my core values are at a deeper level. I do have strong communication skills. I discovered I'm passionate about, this particular cause in the world. That is such important information. So to take that moment of pause before you start something new is to really harvest the wisdom of that past, because you can totally take those forward when you're starting new. I think the next thing I would do in starting new is give yourself permission to be in that, so I call it the marination process, incubation process, where you're turning in a new direction. How exactly it's all going to come together isn't quite clear. Don't force yourself to get to the how too quickly. I think there's such value in, just like talk to the caterpillar on his way to becoming a butterfly. When you're in that gooey, I'm not sure, kind of mushy state, make sure you have a special place where you can grab your creative thoughts, because you're going to be getting a lot of them. Give yourself that space to sort of brainstorm and talk and explore, and just like we were talking about earlier, be like the scientist. You're sort of gathering impulses and your creative flow. You got to tune into that. And then it's time for you to say, if I was to take just one step towards making this next new thing in my start over chapter happen, what would that one step be? What would be the most joyful, most clear next step I could take? And then try it. And if it sucked, great, you tried it. Celebrate that, stop, and you recalibrate, redirect yourself. But I think when we're starting something new, sometimes we have that urgency. Oh my God, I'm a failure because I'm changing gears, and how am I going to explain this, and how am I going to get the money, and it all has to happen like yesterday. And we miss that opportunity to really be in that incubation process. And I love the story that people share a lot about, if you try to, out of good intentions, help that butterfly or that moth out of the cocoon a little too soon, it will not survive, because it needs that period of struggle to build up the strength in its wings so it can really fly and be, go to its highest heights. I think that's part of the process that we're in. And for myself, when I discovered doodling, I had no idea that was going to be a major new next starting over for me. I really came to it from being in a place, because of some of the challenges we'd had in my family with some of the medical issues that needed to be dealt with. I was in that gooey place. Like I was a mush ball on my couch for a number of months. And it was from that place of like, what can I do to really love myself a little more and find some joy and feed my soul? I decided to do a course that taught the basics of how to do markers and big drawing. And I was not an artist, but it was from that place of the goo that the amazing stuff came into my awareness.
We got to get into our goo.
Just
get into it.
Get your goo on.
Get your goo on. All right. That's our mantra for the week, Superstarters. I'm serious. I am going to create an internet poster that says, get your goo on. I swear I'm going to do it, and you all better share it, because it's going to be awesome. So, Carolyn, thank you so much, because this is just, I just adore you.
Oh, thank you.
I just awesome. Adore you, and I want everyone to learn how to doodle. So I can't wait to have you on the Backstage Pass. And Superstarters, join us there, and we're going to go deeper with Carolyn and the art of the graphic capture and doodling and unleashing your creative potential into your business, into your life, and so that when you come out of that goo state, you can just soar. We will see you next week on the Start Something Show.
Start something with purpose. Start something with freedom. Start something now. Go to thestartsomethingshow.com, join our community of superstarters, and get your perfect day planner pack, a free resource to help you create the life you've dreamed of living. Take action now, and we'll see you for our next exciting episode.